teacher and performer and composer and all that stuff. And I kind of felt like Twitch is a perfect vehicle for just doing a practice regimen, talking about creative ideas, working on technique. I'm also on YouTube. My channel is Rudiments, and I've been trying to keep up with that, but the editing time, all sorts of planning, all sorts of things were just stressing me out, and I figured Twitch would be a way for me to just go directly to you, talk about things we can practice to come up with creative concepts, as well as to build our technique, and just to share things that I have learned over the 20 some odd years that I've been playing and teaching. If you are interested in hearing me play, you could just Google me, I guess. My last name is S-H-E-R. You can go to dannysherdrums to see some videos. I have a band called Horse Torso that I write music for. That's my main project right now. You can find that. Yeah, and I'm on Venmo, just Danny Share, and my Cash App is $DSherdrums, if anyone is interested in, saying thanks, dude, or whatever. And yeah, and I teach lessons via Zoom, or Skype, or GChat if that's what you prefer to use. And you can contact me at dannysherdrums@gmail.com, or you could DM me on Instagram at Udiments. Anyway, I want to do a mixture of technical exercises and creative discussions, and I want to try and turn these technical exercises into a vehicle for creative ideas. So that's a lot, and we can only do as much of that as we can do. So we're just going to start with some technical stuff. I don't claim to have written any of these exercises or come up with any of them on my own, so I just want to put that up there. Yeah, and I mean, these are kind of common sense, a lot of them. So I know for me, it helps to have someone leading something like this to get me to kind of go through with practicing it in the methodical way that I know I should. So, this first thing we're going to try is something I give full credit to a group called Murder Hands, not a band, but a collective of amazing drummers that hosted a masterclass in New York City last year. And it was amazing. I learned a lot, and these technical exercises made a lot of logical sense to me. So, okay, let's talk about them. So, first of all, the grip we want to be using, some of you might use traditional grip. I do not play traditional grip, so I don't know a ton about how you would approach this with your left hand with the fingers if you use traditional grip. Yeah, you might want to look into that. Or, I mean, if you do use traditional grip, there's a good chance that you also use match grip, because all you drummers that use traditional grip are so talented at it and seem so natural that it seems like you can kind of do anything. So a lot of you do the, Tony Williams type of thing of, using this when it makes sense. I mean, like, the way I'm doing it isn't even right because I don't do it. But using that when it makes sense and using match grip when it makes sense. So we're going to be using, like, the French grip version of match grip, if that's the right way to say it. So all that really means is, so here, I'm gonna center myself because clearly I'm off to the side. If that's my only Twitch malfunction, I will be feeling good. Okay, French grip. So all that really means is you're trying to isolate your fingers and not use your wrists, or at least not rely on your wrists. So your thumb is going to be pointed with the stick. So you're pointing the stick forward, your thumb's going forward. Same with the left hand. So when your hands are in front of you, the sticks are pointed basically straight out. That wasn't straight. Straight out. So, okay, so now what this does is it makes the only movement we need to use this kind of thing. So you're pushing with your thumb and gripping with your fingers. So that also means that you're relying on rebound to make really anything happen. You're throwing the stick down and just allowing it to bounce back up to you. And when you do that, it takes all of the, burden off of everything else. But it, that kind of makes it sound like it shifts the burden all to your fingers. It's not necessarily that, but it's that when you're using your fingers, the stick is allowed to bounce higher and just freer than it would be otherwise. So all I feel like I'm doing is flicking it down like this and trying to get it to bounce back up as much as it can, probably pointing straight up again. So now what we're going to do is we're going to isolate each individual finger. So now I do not mean you're going to take the rest of your fingers off and just go like that. Don't ever do that. At least as a rule of practice, you want to support everything you're doing with all your fingers. So now, what I do mean is that we're only going to be using the finger in question to do the work. So we'll start with the index finger. And, again, even though I have my fingers all on the stick, I'm only actually using my index finger and pushing it over my finger with my thumb. I mean, that's essentially what the French grip technique is like. Pushing your thumb over the finger. So, okay, now we're going to do 16th notes for 16 measures with each hand. So, I want this channel to be something that beginners or intermediate players or advanced players can all take something away from. So I want to be able to try and do these things in a way that allows anyone to latch onto it, and also doesn't bore someone who, wants to take the tempo twice as fast because they can handle that. So, okay, so, but what I was going to say is basically, it would be easier if you don't have to count the actual 16th notes as you play. So if you can play a measure worth of 16th notes and know when that amount of time has gone past and not need to count each measure, or rather, not need to count the 16th notes in the measure and also count the measures, that's going to make it a lot easier. So the way you want to count it is just to say the number of the measure you're in at the beginning of that measure. For example, let's say I was doing 2 measures. 1, 2. So it's not the hardest thing, but again, for more beginner players or musicians, you might still need to count the 16th notes in the measure. And if that's the case, this could be a little trickier. Now, real quick before we do it, I will say, if you want to do that, if you feel like you need to count the beats in the measure as well as the measure you're on, here's the only real way to do that. So you say the number of the measure you're in, and then you keep counting the 16th notes after that. So you would go 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 2 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 3 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So if that makes sense, you're saying the number of the measure you're in, and then you're going back to counting. Anyway, let's just assume we don't need to do that. So we're doing 16 measures of 16th notes with each finger. Then we're going to go to the left hand, and we're going to do it with the left hand. Then we're going to do it with both hands in unison. So, let's see here. All right. So we'll start with the right hand, and we're going to try and go kind of under tempo. I'm not going to use a metronome for lots of different reasons, but I also think if you want to do this a little bit slower or a little bit faster than I'm doing it, great. And then it'll be a little bit less, annoying than it would be if I had a metronome going and you were trying to keep your own tempo separate from that. So, okay, so let's say our tempo is going to be, this would be like our quarter note. So 1 E and a, 2 E and a. So here's a quarter note. So that means that's your 16th note, right? So we're going to do index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky, and then we're going to go to the left hand, and we're going to do index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky. All right, and then we're going to do unison. Here we go. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, middle finger, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, ring finger, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, pinky, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, left hand first finger, 1, 2, ooh, that's hard already for me, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, whew, that's hard, 16, second finger go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, ooh, it's burning, 15, 16, ring finger go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, ring finger go, 1, I meant pinky, not ring finger, 2, pinky, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and a 14. I said a 15. And why not about the 16? What? Unison, both hands go. 1, first finger. 2, 3, 4. Try to get them as unison as you possibly can. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can just see that my right hand is much stronger than my left. 11, 12, 13, getting bored, 14, get funky with the exercise, 15, here comes 16, second finger, dude, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10. 14. 15. Ooh, that's hard. 16. Ring, finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm trying not to accent. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. No accents. 15. That's really hard. 16. Last finger, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Getting sloppy. 5. Blop, 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 blop. 6. 7. Stop accenting, Danny. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. Oh, almost done. 13. 14. 15. 16. Here we go. You're done. Okay. So that was interesting for me, if nothing else, just because watching myself play is something I don't do enough. It's good to look in a mirror or something when you're playing. It's just reinforcing what I already know, but you can kind of see, at least after a while, I think at first it's easy for me to keep my left and my right even in spite of the fact that clearly the right has more, staying power than the left. But as we go and my hands get more tired, when we're doing the unison, you can hear the flamming thing where instead of going unison, it starts to be ba-da, 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 because I'm not, keeping the left hand with the right. But the other thing I started doing was something called molar technique that you might be familiar with or you might not, where you're basically accenting, for instance, if you're doing eighth notes and you're accenting the numbered beats and you're not accenting the ands. So you're going 1 and 2 and 3. So there's lots of different reasons to use that technique, but one of the things that comes with that technique is a little bit of relaxation for your chops. So the more tired my chops got during that, the more I started going from this to this. Because those in-between beats are kind of like a little rest. I do an accent, and then when I'm, basically that's me moving my wrists. So I'm getting my wrists involved to take the burden off of my fingers, which defeats the purpose of the exercise. So that's what's helpful about it, and that's also something that ties into the name of this channel, Rudiments. The thing that I was constantly taught was, to check out all of the best musicians in the genre that I was most interested in and study them, and to sort of compare what I was doing to what they were doing, but in a way of framing my content as, amateur or beginner, or, not really analyzing it enough to give it credit one way or another, but just saying, you're a student, they are a teacher, do what they're doing, don't do what you're doing. And that's right when you're struggling with something, but I think the problem is that sometimes it convinces musicians that their creative ideas are also wrong or invalid or not of quality, or they somehow relate to the lack of experience that they have, and they don't really get to you know figure out or even notice or give themselves credit for their original creative ideas that are of merit and that should be used and should be studied the same way you would study someone else. So this is what's helpful when you're doing these exercises and you see that your left hand starts to go that way. Okay, well, now what tempo are we at? So whatever tempo you are playing along to on your metronome, let's say this is looking great and all of a sudden it starts to go out to the side. That means you should mark that exact tempo. That's your practice tempo. It should be right in that, curve where you can do it for a while, but you can't do it for that long. And you're just trying to elongate the period of time that you can keep it up and keep the right muscle in action and using the proper form. And then when that starts to shift, that's when you have to start to shift what you're doing, and maybe that means slowing back down, because it's good to try and play things that are out of your range, and I very much encourage you to do that. But when you're practicing technique, you're practicing technique. And if you're doing it improperly, then you want to slow your tempo back down, and just make sure that you're doing it properly if that's the entire point of what you're practicing. So, okay. Now, here's another sort of, I don't want to say basic because it's not easy, but it's a paradiddle exercise. And as most of you probably know, a paradiddle is a crucial rudiment. And it's one of those that's like, there's enough rudiments that we could be busy forever practicing them all. And again, I'm more of the school of thought that you want to really master a few of these things rather than spread yourself so thin that you're, you're decent at them all, but you can't play any of them at a decent tempo or have control or add accents. I think if you can't add accents comfortably to something, then you need to sort of step back and practice that rudiment and get more comfortable, because accents are sort of a sign of control. That's why this rudiment we're about to do, or this exercise we're about to do, is tricky, because it's having control with a paradiddle, which is kind of hard to control sometimes. So for this one, I give credit to the late Charlie Persip, who was my first drum instructor at the New School. And I mean, this was this is like 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, that he showed me this, and I've been practicing this since then because it's hard. So now, the concept we're using on our paradiddle, which, for anyone that doesn't know the paradiddle, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. Right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. So this type of exercise is called a displacement exercise or accent displacement or whatever. So what we're going to do is, the paradiddle is 8 beats. So it doesn't really matter if you count it as eighth notes. I don't think you should necessarily have to count it at all. But if you do, you might want to decide, okay, it's eighth notes or whatever you want to make it. So we are going to accent the first beat and the fifth beat to start. So that's kind of what you would naturally do. That's what feels normal when I think this is what feels normal when you're not analyzing it at all. Right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So we're accenting right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. So that's the first and the fifth beat. Then we're going to move each accent over by 1 eighth note or by 1 note in the rudiment. So now you're moving it to the second and the sixth beat. So now it's going to be right, left, right, left, left. So already that's a weird one. The sound of it is, I think, harder. Again, it's a spectrum. That's another thing that I fully believe. All this stuff, like how quickly you figure something out by ear or how you analyze it or what tools you you resonate with, that's all a spectrum, and there's no right or wrong. And that's a huge part of my belief that seems to be a little bit different than what I was taught. So, but, okay, so anyway, we're accenting the first and fifth beat, then we're accenting the second and the sixth, and then the third and the seventh. You can see where this is going. So we're just moving each accent over by one. So, just to show you what that would be before we try it. All right, here we go. I'll do one of each, just so you can see what it's supposed to be. So, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. So now, you definitely want to do a handful of each, if for no other reason, just to keep your place and keep your sanity. So let's say we're going to do, let's do 8 of each. That's kind of a middle ground. It's not too crazy, but it's not giving up too early. So, okay. So, again, this kind of requires you to keep your place in the rudiment and also count how many times you've played it. So, I would argue that even though I believe that you don't have to nail every rudiment that exists to be a great drummer, and I feel like it's one of those things that, you know, so many teachers say that you should do, and yet when, you know, some of the greatest drummers who ever lived, like Max Roach, get asked what rudiments they use, and they say singles, doubles, and paradiddle, in practicality, you can play, most drummers can play most of what they want to play with those 3 rudiments. So, so I would argue the single, the double, and the paradiddle, you should get to a point where it's easy to keep your place in those rudiments without having to actually count the measures you're in. So, okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to count the number of each measure at the top of it. So, here we go. So, and I won't count the accent. So, I mean, I'll be playing it. You'll be able to hear what it is, but I'm not going to also count that or say the sticking because I just can't speak that fast. So, okay. So, again, it's going to be 8 of each accent pattern. So, first and fifth beat, accented for 8 measures. Second and sixth. Third and seventh. Fourth and eighth. Okay. So, here we go. Do 16th notes again, or, you know, doesn't really matter, but it's a way to set a tempo. So, okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. Let's try that a little faster. For me, it actually almost becomes harder to play slow because you can just zone out and almost, you know, I don't know. We got through it. So, okay. So, let's do, not too much faster, but a little faster, right? So this is your new quarter note. So now your 16th notes are going to be right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. So again, we're going to do 8 of each, right? We're going to do first and fifth beat accented, second and sixth, third and seventh, fourth and eighth. Yeah. All right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so now that one is a great example of something you can derive creative ideas from. So I don't know if you can hear this. Again, this is my first broadcast, so I don't know what the audio sounds like. Hopefully it doesn't sound horrible. But I am just kind of keeping a bass drum tempo here with my foot just on the ground. So now, when you are accenting some of the upbeats, but you're still keeping your tempo with your foot, you're accenting the E's maybe, or the U's, I wouldn't call it a cross rhythm, but it's a syncopated rhythm. It's an interesting syncopated rhythm where you're keeping one thing on the downbeat, and then you're playing another thing on an upbeat, and you have to have sort of a perfect sense of tempo and also control over your sticking pattern to make that work. So right off the bat, you know, I'm not saying that you're going to take that and say, oh, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard, and that's some kind of, you know, vehicle for a creative idea. But at the same time, it's a syncopated pattern, and you didn't necessarily come up with it out of nowhere, but you're just taking something that is an obvious, you know, way to practice, and then if you apply that to anything, you know, you're writing a bass line or a beat or something, and you apply that rhythm to that, all of a sudden that's a creative idea that you derived from kind of a logical method of practice. So that's at the heart of what the rudiments title means to me, is like, you know, to get ideas or be creative or whatever it is that people seem to feel, you know, is elusive to them, or they, you know, requires inspiration, which I agree is true. At the same time, you know, there's so much all around us. There's ideas happening left and right. And I feel like if you're just curious enough to sort through all those things, I mean, you know, by thing 4 or 5, there's got to be something interesting that you like that you can latch onto. So I want to kind of combine those things. So, you know, I'm doing drum pad today, but, you know, I will do drum set some weeks and talk about odd meters and talk about more full kit types of things. But I think all of these concepts are applicable both ways. And for me personally, practicing on the pad is something I neglected for a long time and didn't see the need for. And now at age 38, I only see the need for that as far as my practice, because I really need it. So I want to try and combine those two concepts. So some weeks we might talk more about those creative concepts, and some will be more technical exercises and things like that. But I also want to hear from you. Obviously, this is only sustainable if I am, you know, keeping you engaged and also, you know, finding that middle ground that I try to find when I teach. Things that can be stripped down for a beginner player, or at their most intricate and involved are difficult and would be something that a more advanced player could handle. Okay, so now I want to remind you too that I do teach drum lessons on Zoom or Skype or GChat, although I prefer Zoom. Usually the audio is superior on Zoom. And you can contact me at dannysherdrums at Gmail. You can also DM me on my Instagram at rudiments. And I also have a YouTube channel for rudiments, which I'm going to hopefully be uploading all these streams to if I can figure it out, because again, this is new to me. And you can hit me up on my Venmo at dannyshare. The last name is SHER. And my Cash App is $dannysherdrums. Yeah, okay, so let's see. We're going to do one more thing here. So back to the accenting. Now, I was back and forth trying to figure out if we should do accenting every number in a row, like going every 4, every 5, every 6, every 7, every 8. The only reason I decided to do it a different way is because, I don't know, it just seemed a little boring to be doing these groupings where we're only accenting with the right hand. So I wanted to do odd numbers, because if we're doing odd numbers, you're going to be alternating the hands that you accent with. So now, this is definitely one of those situations where it should be able to kind of spark some ideas, because if you're keeping a tempo with your foot or with a metronome, you're going to be doing a cross rhythm. If you're accenting every 5 beats or every 7 beats or every 9 beats, that is going to be going over the bar line of your foot count that's keeping a quarter note. So I don't want you to analyze that in any way, but I want you to try and let that overlap happen without it throwing you off. So basically what you're doing is you're counting 1 meter over another. You know, you're counting 9/8, but you're playing 4/4. And if you can let those things overlap without messing up where your bass drum goes or doing something like that, then you are nailing it. So, okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to alternate single stroke roll, right, left, right, left. But we're going to do accenting every 5 beats, and then every 7 beats, and then every 9 beats, and then back down. So we'll just do 8 of each for now. So we're going to, all right, I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about instead of trying to be the most articulate person, which I'm not. Okay, so here we go. So let's say our tempo is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that would have been 8 times of, 5/8 or 5/16, depending on what you call this, but that's not that relevant. As long as you know the speed of each thing, you can count it how you want to count it, or not count it how you do want to not count it. However there was a joke in there, you get it. Okay, so we're going to try to seamlessly also go from the 5 to the 7 to the 9 to the 7 to the 5. So if you can count it, you can play it. I mean, that's how I see it. But that's also a discussion I'd love to have. So topics you'd like me to cover or comments you have, any of that stuff, please throw it my way. I'll do my best to, work on things that everyone is trying to work on in here, and find new ways to explain it, because that helps me to be a better teacher, and it can also help me to be a better drummer when it's something that just, it's just a new way of thinking about things. That always helps me. I always feel, inspired or refreshed by that. So, all right, here we go. 8 of each. 5s, 7s, 9s, 7s, 5s. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ba-ba. All right. I hope you enjoyed this. And I will definitely be doing this every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, and hopefully I'll be doing it a lot more. I guess that will also depend on if you want to watch me. So again, thanks so much for being here, and you can find me on YouTube at Rudiments, and on Instagram at Rudiments, and right here on Twitch at Rudiments. You can check out my band Horse Torso, and you can take lessons with me. So if you want to email me at dannysherdrums@gmail, great, or DM me. And again, my Venmo is dannyshare, and my Cash App is money sign, dollar sign, whatever you want to call it, D share drums. All right, thanks again. Goodbye.